Hi, welcome to another episode of The Art of Physics. This one is going to be really wild. Oh my gosh, you're going to enjoy a lot of the aspects of this one. But I want to, first of all, prepare you by telling you a little bit about the physics of it all. The physics of what we're going to talk about this time are really quite old. They've been around for quite a long time. And in fact, I'm going to show you a graphic that shows one of the people involved in this, and that is a gentleman whose name is Archimedes. So if we have an Archimedes shot that you can see, that's what Archimedes was all about. And what was so good about Archimedes? Archimedes was an advisor to a king, and the king was very curious to know about this crown that he was trying to be sold by a crown salesman. Now, I don't know about crown salesmen. I think maybe dentists know about crown salespeople. But nevertheless, we'll find out. And this crown salesman said, "This crown is the best gold money can buy." The king said, "Really? Well, that's good to know." And he said, "Do you mind if I look at this for a while?" And the salesman said, "No problem. But of course, if you damage it at all, you buy it." The king said, "We won't damage it. Not a problem." Crown salesman left. King called for Archimedes and says, "Archie," I don't know if he called him that really, but he said, "Archimedes, can you tell me if this crown is genuine gold?" Archimedes says, "Sure, I'll just take a little sliver." And the king says, "No, you're not taking any slivers." He said, "You got to test this non-destructively." Archimedes said, "Oh, well," he said, "I know what the density of gold is." And he said, "I can pretty much weigh this thing and find out what it weighs, but I'm having a certain problem trying to get the volume of it because it's all ornate and very busy, and I'd have to calculate that volume. It'd be very difficult." He said, "Do I have about a month or two?" The king says, "Nice try. You have until tomorrow." Archimedes says, "You're kidding." King says, "Do kings kid?" Archimedes said, "Maybe not. Let me think about this." Archimedes, now I don't know about you, but I tend to have sort of interesting revelations about things often when I'm taking a shower. I refer to them as shower thoughts. Go ahead and take a shower, take a nice hot shower and wash my hair, and things are happening and I'm thinking, and sometimes I get real interesting, good thoughts about creative things. Archimedes didn't have a shower. Archimedes had a bath. So Archimedes said to his servants, "Draw me a bath." And he said, "Make it the hottest bath you can make and fill it to the top because I got a big problem here." The servant said, "Well, we're happy to do that, but you realize if we fill the bath to the top, the tub, and you get in it, then there's going to be kind of a mess of water all over." Archimedes said, "Don't quarrel with me. Fill it all the way to the top, like I said." "Okay, no problem." So sure enough, filled the bathtub to the top. Archimedes got in. Sure enough, the water went every place. The servant said, "Oh, we knew that was going to happen." Gee. Archimedes gets in, and he has not a shower thought, but a tub thought. And the tub thought is, wonder what the relationship is of the water that left the tub when I got in to the amount of volume that I take up. Because if I knew wait a minute, the volume is the same, because whatever volume I displaced went out in the form of water, I could just measure that, couldn't I? And I could figure out the density, of the crown. He did. He figured out the density of the crown. It wasn't real, by the way, just so you know. That was Archimedes. And so the whole idea came up from Archimedes about buoyancy and the idea of pressure that was propagated down through a fluid. And in fact, there is a certain gadget that I'd like to demonstrate for you. I don't know can you see this okay, Jason? Is this all right? Jason, focus in on this guy right here. This guy we're going to call a diver. And this diver, there, it's good, you can see it. This diver is here, and the diver has in it some water at the bottom and then some air just above that. Now, this whole thing is a sealed system. There's air up in here. Can you see the air? There's air up there, and there's a little bulb up here. And so I can squeeze on this bulb, and when I squeeze on the bulb, an interesting thing happens. It increases the pressure. And so it increases the pressure in the air, and it increases the pressure inside the water also. Watch what happens to the diver when I increase the pressure a lot. The diver dove. This is an automatic diver. It's called a Cartesian diver after Descartes. Now, if I let the pressure off, the diver, of course, comes up. Now, this looks real easy, but Jason, I want you to focus on this diver that's still down. Can you see this diver that's still down here? Because if you focus on him, you can see that there is an air space inside the diver and then a little bit of water space. Watch what happens to the air space when I squeeze the bulb like I did before. Watch what happens to the air space. It's real obvious in this one. It wasn't so obvious in the diver, but you see the air space? Oh, got him. But you see the air space change a lot when I change this bulb? What's happening is more water is going into the tube. So then, why would that hurt anything? More water inside the tube makes it heavier. Heavier sinks. So we can make the diver dive just by virtue of putting more water into the diver, and he sinks. So then you might wonder, is that the case with real divers? Do they just take on more water and therefore sink? Well, I have a couple of real divers here today, and these real divers are going to talk to us about the reality of the diving, which might not be exactly the same as this. There's nobody really squeezing the bulb, making them dive. They dive a little differently. So here are some real divers. Phyllis, Indiana, diver. Diver. Seth, diver. Oh my gosh, these guys are divers. So then, is this the way you guys dive, or how do you dive exactly?
It's a little bit bigger of a tube.
Bigger tube. Yeah, like the size of a lake.
Or an ocean.
Or an ocean even. Oh my gosh. You guys are amazing.
And we don't take on water.
You don't take on water?
No.
Why do you sink then?
With lead weights.
You wear lead weights like those things?
Yes. So.
Jeez, I can't even reach them. Oh my gosh. That's a lead weight, all right.
Or the other ones go on a belt, and those go in pockets.
Oh,
and
this says 3. Is this 3 pounds?
Yes. And
Nice.
so you're wearing weights to help you sink.
That makes you sink, but it doesn't make you think.
True.
Yeah, big difference.
True.
Oh my gosh. So then that makes you sink because you're heavier. So this guy sank because he was heavier because he had more water. You sink because you're actually putting on weight by doing this.
Yes.
See, there's so many people that are on diets, and you actually put on weight.
And it's counterintuitive to be putting lead in your pockets when you're going into the water, because most people would think it's going to pull me right to the bottom.
Yeah.
And you have to control your descent, and you place the weights in pockets that are around your BC, your buoyancy control device.
That's what this is?
Yes. So the weights.
Can you see that at all, Jason? The buoyancy control device?
Yes.
You wear this thing?
And you have pockets.
Seth, do you wear this thing too?
Not on a daily basis, but
And his is in pink. But this has air around here for when you're diving. You put air in here. And there's pockets here and here for you to put the lead weights.
Okay.
And you're placing them around you evenly.
Oh, I see. So there are pockets in the back that allow you to put some on this side and that side so you don't fall over like that guy just did.
Right.
Yep.
And then theoretically this will come out.
That could open up.
Well, it should, but we're having a technical issue.
She does it better underwater, by the way.
Yes.
So,
So this comes out and you put weights in here also.
oh, jeez.
You put more weights in the front so that you're laying down. And then if you have them in the back, then you'd be laying on your back. And you want to be on your stomach when you're swimming.
Oh, right, right.
And
Can you shift them around as you're down there?
No, you can't shift them at all.
Okay.
And you're controlling, once you have the weights in, you're controlling buoyancy by putting air into your buoyancy control device. And this air is coming off of your tank.
Oh, so you have an air tank that allows you to essentially counteract the effects of the weights.
Right.
Okay.
So you have to control how quickly you're going down. And you don't want to keep inflating and deflating with the air from your tank, because that's also the air you're breathing. So the more frequently you're adjusting the weights from your tank, that's the less
you can breathe.
less air you have for breathing, so less bottom time.
Right.
And then,
Boy, this guy is something else.
yes, he is. And what's his name?
Raul.
Raul.
And the weights are, once you're underwater, they're geared to get you to the bottom, and then you can use your breath to control going up and down small amounts. But you can't just go right to the bottom, otherwise your ears will pop.
Oh.
Or you'll get ear damage, so you have to control your descent.
So you descend gradually.
Yes.
So the ears can eventually figure that out.
Right.
And if you drop a weight while you're down there, it's fairly difficult to actually find it again.
Right.
Ooh.
And then, so you probably want to go down every 10 feet, stop, equalize the pressure in your ears, and then continue
Now,
down.
how do you equalize the pressure? Do you just sort of blow? Like you do in airplanes.
You like pinch your nose,
and blow.
and like jerk
Right.
your head, or like wiggle your jaw sometimes works.
Okay.
And then when you're coming up, you have to come up at a very slow rate. And so it's all physics, because the air in your tank has been depleted, or it's down. You might start at about 2,000 psi. When you're going up, you're up down to 500 psi. So your tank weighs a lot less, so it's more buoyant.
So you're liable to float.
Right, but you don't want to go up too quickly, because that's how you get
The bends.
nitrogen bubbles. And or if you go up too quickly, as you were showing, you're going down, the air is decreasing from the tube.
Yeah.
Same thing happens to your lungs. You're down at the bottom. There's not very much air, and if you go up too quickly, you can rupture your lungs.
Ooh. So you learn all this in dive school
Yes,
before
you
you
do.
dive number one, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And then the other thing is, so here's a wetsuit.
Oh, good. Can you see that?
And this is a 3 millimeter wetsuit. So this is for warmer water. So this is what you would use like in the Atlantic, in the South, like in the Caribbean.
Okay.
The nicer places.
The nicer places. I have a 5 millimeter wetsuit for up here. But as you're going,
That keeps you warmer.
it keeps you warmer.
Okay.
And as you're
Fairly
going down,
warmer.
though, the cells in the wetsuit compress, so the air is being pulled out of the wetsuit.
Ooh.
So the wetsuit keeps you warm up to a certain point in the water, and then when the cells have flattened out, and instead of being 3 millimeters, it becomes 1 millimeter, the warmth isn't there anymore.
So it's an insulation thing.
Yes,
I gotcha.
right.
Wow, there's a lot of physics in that.
It is.
It's all physics.
Wow.
And so you have to compensate. If you're in salt water, you're more buoyant, so you would use more weight. On the other hand, if you're in salt water, theoretically it's going to be warmer water. So you're going to be wearing a thinner wetsuit, so then you don't need as much weight. So you have to figure
You got to
out.
balance these things out.
Yes.
Now, does the dive master figure all that stuff out in advance, or how does that work?
You keep a log of all your dives, and then you work on it with the dive master. And when you when you're diving in a new area and you first enter the water, the dive master has you do some tests to test your buoyancy, and you could go back to the boat and add weights as you need it.
Wow. That's interesting. So you have dive computers besides the dive suits.
Yes.
You have a dive computer. That's this
So I
thing?
have 2 different dive computers.
Wow. Can you pick that up? Who's getting that one?
This is my main computer, and this is my backup computer.
This is the main computer.
Yes.
Okay. It's bigger.
Well, it's easier to see.
Okay.
And most people, if you're just diving around here and it's a day trip or you're in training, you would just use one computer. If you're going someplace and you can only do a certain amount of diving per day, so you want a backup computer in case one fails. You don't waste the whole day, because if one fails, you can't go back in the water. So this computer, actually, it's telling me the water temperature, the amount of time I've been underwater, the depth I'm at, but it's also doing the calculations for me as to how much time I have left on my tank.
Wow.
So it's connected to my, by a hose, it's connected to my tank. And so it's getting a reading specifically how much air is left in the tank. And it's doing real-time calculations for Where's the connection? 1, 2, 3. It's doing real-time calculations. I lost the connection for how much air is left in the tank, how much I can be at that depth. So as it's saying you have 10 minutes left, I could go up to a higher depth, and then it'll calculate immediately, whoops, now you have 15 minutes left.
Okay.
This one doesn't, you just wear it on your wrist. This is my backup. So it's not telling me how much time I have left on that dive. And my math isn't good enough to be doing it while I'm diving.
Oh, wait, that's underwater math.
That's underwater math. So
you didn't major in that, did you, Seth?
Not yet.
Okay.
So this is fairly new technology where it's getting a real-time reading from the tank. Most dive computers are just without telling you how much air is left in the tank. So you have to sit there and think, I started with 2,000 PSI. I'm at 1,000 PSI. I've been down for a half hour. I need to finish the dive with 500, and you do the calculations in your head. This is a little more idiot-proof because it's telling you in real time. It's doing all those calculations. Plus, you're only allowed to be underwater, not underwater, but at various depths, a certain amount of time per day. And this one, since it's actually taking the air readings off of the tank, it tells you how much time you have left to dive for the entire day. If you're using just this one, you have to use charts and do calculations.
Yeah.
And when you're on vacation, you don't want to be doing math calculations.
Well, this is fascinating. I mean, there's a lot of gear here, right, that has to be dealt with. So you might almost think then that the reason that people do diving is because they enjoy the physics of it, and they're really getting involved in all of the pressures and the densities.
Right, of course.
Of course.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
No, not at all.
I didn't think so,
No.
because we have some pictures to show. You made some pictures, and maybe show us some of the graphics. David can do this, and if you would, you can give us the idea of what's going on. That's you, isn't it?
That's me, and that's in Florida by Fort Lauderdale. It's in the Atlantic, and I'm 75 feet underwater, and that is a freighter that was wrecked during a hurricane in around 95 or 96.
Wow.
It's amazing that the photography can be that clear.
Ooh, what's this?
This is a grouper that was visiting me on that freighter.
A grouper?
Yes.
That's a kind of a fish. Is that a big fish?
That was a very large grouper.
Looks big.
Yes.
Wow, now what are these guys?
This was just around the reef. This is also in Florida.
And those are just smaller fish.
Yes.
Those are pretty fish.
Yes. Coral.
Coral.
That one is about 65 feet underwater.
Wow. And coral's alive.
Coral's alive. When
Yeah.
you're actually looking at it, you can see it breathing. There's holes on the top that
Doing
open
quite
and
well
close.
also.
Good.
Yes.
Good. Wow. That's pretty. Oh my gosh.
The colors are very vivid. You don't realize how
No.
vivid the colors are underwater.
Geez, you're doing a lot more than physics under there.
Yes.
You're enjoying it. Look at the spines on that fish.
Yes.
That's fabulous.
And the photography is amazing. The cameras are amazing. That's a piece of coral. And with the cameras, it's amazing that they could be that far underwater and that the pressure doesn't affect them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're special dive cameras also, not just like a regular waterproof camera
Wow.
or like a GoPro.
Really? Well, that's really interesting because you got to have good cameras to do that. But I'm just amazed at the great colors and
Yes.
the pretty structures. Now there's even more.
Well, that's me. That was about 60 feet underwater. Right next to me is a coral, and in the very front is a sponge. And
I'll be darned. Beautiful. And this one that's more coral, huh?
yes,
It's such a pretty fan, lacy-like looking stuff.
there's coral under in the oceans that you've never seen on land. I don't.
No.
Yeah,
Wow. That's you again.
that's me again. I was going down to the wreck,
Uh-huh. Wow.
and the water's pretty murky. There was a storm coming,
Uh-huh.
and you just stay underwater when there's a thunderstorm.
And let the storm happen, right?
Yes.
That's wild. Well, of course, as Seth pointed out earlier, you can have videos too. I mean, the
Yes.
GoPro is a video camera, so you can get some video cameras. Can we see some video, David? Do you have a video hookup that you can give us? Give us the short one first.
And this was actually taken with a GoPro,
Ah,
and that's a type of ray.
manta ray, is that, or do they call them stingrays? What kind
That's
of
a
rays?
stingray. That's not a manta ray. And it just was swimming past us, so we decided to follow it.
It looks so sort of gentle, like, oh, look how easy it is to swim.
It is. It's beautiful to see.
And swimming through all this coral stuff down there? Wow, that's just amazing.
Yes.
Whoa, very good. Well, so I know that not only do you see things down there that are fish and so forth, but there's also some other interesting stuff,
Yes.
right? Let's see if we have another video to see where some interesting stuff shows up. Now, where's this?
This is also off the coast of Florida, and we're lobstering. So you take a tickle stick. The lobster hides in caves, little caverns.
And then you tickle him?
You tickle the lobster, and you sort of walk them out. And once they walk out, you catch it with the net. You're wearing
Whoa.
right there. He just caught the lobster.
Yeah.
But he was just showing you on that was a female lobster. He was showing you the eggs.
Uh-huh.
When we were lobstering, we had to, you were not allowed to keep the females. So if you can imagine, you catch the lobster, you have to measure them. They have to be at least, the body, not the tail, the body has to be at least 3 inches long.
Oh, boy.
So you're trying to read a ruler underwater. And then you check to
Your
make
dive computer won't tell you that.
No. And then you turn it over to make it sure it's not a female, and then you put it in the net. And once you've caught the lobsters and they're in the net, then you put them in a bag that's hanging from your buoyancy control
lobster
device.
bag.
A lobster bag.
Wow.
Which is fine when you're underwater, but then when you surface, it changes your buoyancy because, for instance, on that trip, I had 7 lobsters, and they were all about 3 pounds, so that was an extra
21 pounds.
21 pounds that I was trying
Underwater math, we got it.
underwater. On top, you're trying to climb a ladder with an extra 21 pounds hanging from you.
So you're a little bigger than you'd like to be at that
Yes.
point. Wow. Did you bring any cameras to show us, by the way? Or
I only brought
oh,
this
that
camera.
guy. Oh, so that's what happens. That's how you do that. There's
Yes.
a light that's attached to
So
the
the
bar
still
there.
camera actually had 2 strobes,
Uh-huh.
and you can move them to highlight whatever you want. And there's a gasket in the camera to keep it waterproof. And then the video cameras are almost the regular GoPros that you see, but they're in a special housing. Wow. And there's attachments so you could extend them away from you to follow fish.
Wow. Boy, there's a lot to this, isn't there? That's just amazing. I just love it. Wow. Well, thank you so much, but I wanted to save a little time to talk to you guys just a little bit more besides, let him sit out and relax, about things besides your interests underwater.
Okay.
And that is, I usually Google you for people. So I think I have some Google for, let's see, did I get a picture of you, Phyllis? I think I'm going to Google you. And what do I get when I Google Phyllis? Let's see that one first. Keep watching because it'll show up. What's that? That's
Yeah.
you holding one of those lobsters?
2 lobsters, yes. That was in Florida.
Looks like one.
It is one. Yes.
Looks like one.
That's in Florida. That's once we got back on the boat.
Oh, and there's something else that I know you do, and that is bicycling.
Bicycle. Yes, we just did the tour to Livingston yesterday.
Wow.
And that was doing the Hell of a Ride
Wow.
in July.
I'll be darned. Now, I know something else that you do because that's where we originally met, and that was at
Yes.
Camp Michigania.
Always, but we haven't gone scuba diving in Lake Walloon yet.
Well, save that for later. That
Yes.
may be something interesting. So, well, while we're at it, I Googled Seth, too, to
Okay.
find out what Seth was all about. And so what did I find
extraordinaire.
for Seth? Well, Seth had high school senior pictures taken, and here is a picture of Seth. What a good-looking guy. But there's no beard in it. Well, I guess a little beard.
It's a little
in this
bit of a
one.
beard.
But your beard is more well-developed now than it was before.
Yeah, and she doesn't like that.
Oh. Would you like it better if it was less well-developed?
Yeah, she would.
Yes.
I see. I understand. So now, as a result of this is your senior year. So And you do a little work outside of schoolwork too, don't you? What is that you do? You work for some kind of a place that sells food.
Yeah, I work at like a frozen yogurt place, Yo's Yogurt.
Ah, okay.
And it's fun. Throw in a lot of toppings, and it's good food.
Very good. The other thing I can tell you about Seth is that Seth is a sports fan. Oh my gosh. He knows his sports inside and out. I think he has a direct pipeline to Dave Dombrowski that he talks to about the Tigers and about their relief pitching and lack thereof and so forth. And I think you could step that up a little bit more even.
Yeah. Dave and I are on best terms right now.
Oh, I see.
Like, the season didn't really end the way we wanted to.
There was
So,
that.
yeah.
It's too bad. Mm-hmm. But nevertheless, I'm sure that Dave will listen to you more as time goes along.
Hopefully.
There's no question in my mind about that. Seth is also a creative writer, and I'm not sure what use he's going to put that talent to, but I read some things that he's written, and some of them have been really creative and really good.
Yeah.
So he has a lot of fun, and that's kind of what it's all about. So, well, in fact, I want to close this segment with a quote from Einstein, because Einstein, you know, is our buddy, and he knows so many different things. So what does Einstein say? He didn't say much about scuba diving, I'm afraid, but here's what he did say that I think applies. He said, "Joy in looking and comprehending is nature's most beautiful gift." And I think these guys have looked and comprehended that a lot of stuff underwater and above water, for that matter. And so we have to give them our compliments and Einstein's compliments as well. Thanks so much for coming on the
Thank you
program.
for having
appreciate
us.
it. It was very nice, very enjoyable. I hope you viewers had a good time. As good a time as we did, because we almost always have fun, don't we?
Yes.
So until next time, I'm Art Wiggins.